A new paper has just been released that includes stunning findings on phenotypical traits of European hunter-gatherers. Inference of human pigmentation from ancient DNA. The authors of the study are all affiliated with the University of Ferrara. The university is located in northern Italy with the regional capital of Bologna. Professor Barbigiani is perhaps the most well-known of the authors. He has a long-standing affiliation with Stony Brook University in New York. He studied under famed geneticist Luca Cavalli Sforza. Abstract. Light eyes, hair, and skins probably evolved several times as Homo sapiens dispersed from Africa in areas with lower UV radiation. Continuing, light pigmentation alleles increased in frequency because of their adaptive advantage. Recall from previous videos on this channel that alleles refer to groupings of specific gene loci on a chromosome. These genetic variations contribute to the diverse traits we observe in human populations. Continuing, the shift towards lighter pigmentations turned out to be all but linear, with half of the individuals showing dark or intermediate skin colors well into the Copper and Iron Ages. The authors explain, when Homo spread northwards from Africa into Eurasia, the selection regime thus changed and lighter phenotypes emerged. Methodology. Scholarworks.indianapolis.edu. Heuris-Plex predicts hair and skin color by analyzing specific genetic markers, SNPs, in a person's DNA. Continuing, it then uses probabilistic models to estimate the most likely hair and skin colors based on those genetic variations. Paper 2013, the Heuris-Plex system. It is possible to infer with a prediction accuracy of greater than 86% if a brown-eyed, black-haired individual is of non-European versus European biogeographic origin solely from the strength of Heuris-Plex eye and hair color probabilities. Paper. Heuris-Plex was developed in forensic science, but that has been recently used even in the context of ancient DNA studies. Continuing, the Heuris-Plex S protocol has been applied on various ancient specimens, including, for example, medieval samples remains dated to around 1485 attributed to King Richard III. Siberia. Nikolai Perestov is a sculptor and artist who engages in part-time archaeology. In 2008, Perestov ventured into the untamed Siberian wilderness, searching for ancient mammoth ivory tucks along the banks of the Irtysh River. Ust Ishimsky is a district located in western Siberia. Perestov's quest led to a monumental discovery in human history. Over his shoulder, he caught a glint of sunlight on bone, a human femur, belonging to what would soon be known as Ust Ishim man. The femur bone was sent to Pabo's Max Planck Institute in Leipzig for analysis. The Ust Ishim specimen had one of the best preserved early human DNA sequences ever recovered. The study authors were quote-unquote highly confident of the DNA results from Ust Ishim man. For the Upper Paleolithic samples tested, the authors of the study note that nearly all had dark phenotypes that are inferred for all traits. Paper. Ust Ishim sample, what we might call the true phenotypes, were evaluated through the direct approach. We estimated brown eyes, black hair, and dark to black skin. Scientists estimate that Ust Ishim's ancestors came from an original out of Africa wave, possibly stretching back as far as 270,000 years ago. Molecular ecologist 2024. Ust Ishim man was more similar to modern day Eurasians than Africans in genetic diversity, carrying traces of Neanderthal DNA. Dark skinned tryst with lighter skinned Neanderthal. Sci American 2014. An intriguing clue about his origins is that about 2% of his genome comes from Neanderthals. Interbreeding pinpoints it to between 50,000 and 60,000 years ago. Paper 2014. Genome sequence of Ust Ishim man. The genomic segments of Neanderthal ancestry are substantially longer, indicating that Neanderthal gene flow into the ancestors of this individual occurred 7,000 to 13,000 years before he lived. In other words, Ust Ishim man had a Neanderthal great grandparent or great great grandparent in his lineage. As we shall soon see, Ust Ishim man's Neanderthal DNA included a set of gene alleles for lighter skin tones. BNC2. New Scientist 2014, Recovering Surviving Neanderthal Lineages. Their study found a hotspot of Neanderthal ancestry in genes relating to keratin, a fibrous protein found in our hair, skin, and nails. Continuing, one of the genes, BNC2, is involved in skin pigmentation. That implies that Eurasians owe their paler skins partly to Neanderthals. Penn State Talk Science 2020. Our Neanderthal cousins had light skin thanks to similar evolutionary pressures. Continuing, they passed on one main skin gene to Europeans, BNC2, that encodes a skin cell transcription factor associated with lighter skin color, sunburn, and freckles. Geneticists such as Akay and David Reich have identified two specific areas in the human genome with notably strong genetic signals for immunity and skin/hair color. Penn State, continuing, BNC2 has some of the highest amount of Neanderthal DNA in our genomes. In a 2020 video, Dutch YouTuber History with Kaylee explains that Neanderthal skin tone varied by region, with some individuals having red hair and freckles. Interestingly, Kaylee also mentions that Neanderthal gene alleles influence how quickly an individual can tan. Kostenki man. National Geographic. The Kostenki man, specifically known as Kostenki 14, refers to the remains of a 37,000-year-old human found in the Kostenki region of Russia. Buried deep within the current study lies a crucial finding that, intriguingly, the authors have chosen not to highlight. Paleolithic period section from approximately 45,000 years ago to 12,000 years ago, 12 samples. One of them is the Ust Ishim man. Dark phenotypes are inferred to all traits for almost all the samples analyzed. Continuing, the only exception is a Russian sample, Kostenki 14. dated to between 38,700 and 36,200 years ago, which exhibits an intermediate skin color. And this interesting note, continuing. Additionally, Kostenki 14 had about 1% more Neanderthal DNA than modern Europeans. Upper Pleistocene, unique phenotype emerges. The scientists studied 348 genomes of ancient Eurasians going back 45,000 years. They found that the blonde hair, blue eyes, and light skin phenotype appeared at varying times in different populations. Could there have been a genetic inclination for lighter skin in northern Europeans from BNC2 from Neanderthal introgression? Is Kostenki man the first evidence of lighter pigmentation and hair color in Homo sapiens? Mesolithic period. For Europe, the Mesolithic is typically described by paleoanthropologists as 12,000 years ago to 8,000 years ago. Note aside, for South Asia, the Mesolithic period is time different. Britannica, Mesolithic, ancient cultural period that existed between the Paleolithic with its chipstone tools and the Neolithic with its polished stone tools. As the authors outline in their paper, light pigmentation and light hair began to appear in the genomic record in the middle of the Mesolithic. This runs counter to previous beliefs from many anthropologists that blonde hair, blue eyes was a relatively recent development, perhaps as recent as 6,000 years ago. First blonde, blue-eyed human identified in Sweden. Note, while the exact gender of NEO27 isn't confirmed in the paper, it is interesting to imagine this hunter-gatherer as a woman. For this video, we have chosen to present NEO27 as the female gender. Paper. We also observed a peak of light eye pigmentation in Mesolithic times. The researchers discussed their findings, which include detection of the earliest light phenotypes observed from Denmark, Sweden, Spain, and France. Tucked away in the Mesolithic section of the paper lies a stunning revelation. The authors announce the discovery of a Scandinavian Eve. Paper. We observe for the first time an individual with inferred blue eyes, blonde hair, and light skin. Continuing, NEO27 was a hunter-gatherer from Sweden who lived 12,000 years ago. Anatolian farmers. Towards the end of the Mesolithic, Western hunter-gatherers began to recede, replaced by agricultural populations from the east. From the paper, accelerated change to light tones occurred during the spread of Neolithic farmers over Western Eurasia. Studies suggest that around 25% of these Anatolian farmers had light hair and pigmentation. Oftentimes, the Western hunter-gatherers were displaced by Easterners through violent means. There is strong archaeological evidence throughout Northern Europe to support this. Archaeology News 2024. The Anatolian farmers drove out the indigenous hunter-gatherer populations through a combination of violence and the introduction of new pathogens. Evidence from one mass grave in Germany 7,000 years ago, Neolithic Massacre Science 2015, Most of the inhabitants were killed, except young women who were probably kidnapped. But hunter-gatherers' meetings with the eastern farmers no doubt often resulted in unexpected romantic interludes as well. Unique and exceptional phenotype. The authors of the paper note that the accelerated change towards lighter skin tone phenotypes in Western European populations occurred as Anatolian farmers moved westward. But they also note in the abstract that localized processes of gene flow and admixture, or lack thereof, also played a significant role. As we have presented here, 25% of Anatolian farmers had lighter skin, and evidence also suggests that blue eyes, blonde hair emerged in Sweden during the lower Mesolithic. It is plausible that sexual selection also played a role, with lighter skin tones, blonde hair, and blue eyes being preferred. These traits would symbolize healthy adaptation to a rugged and oftentimes challenging Northern European environment that would ensure the spread of this unique phenotype through successive generations. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe and please tell others about the channel. We'll see you soon.